It's on Facebook Live. Hey, everybody. Tim Eyman, Facebook Live, about to hand off the phone off to Josh to be able to record this great group of people. Rotate your phone.
Yeah, you can't rotate once you start, Tim.
All right, I'm not going to rotate it, so that's the way we're going to roll. So anyway, we're at the state Supreme Court. Really good people. Jim Walsh, there he is. Really good people. Let's hear it. Hey! Right in front of us, thousands of people that you'll never see on the camera. We don't want to, they're very shy. They don't want to actually be participating. So anyway, we're going to pass this off to Josh. That is awesome. And you're going to have to flip it around and do some stupid. There it is. So, I love it. Amazing seeing these thousands of people all throughout here. And this is just a small percentage of the overall scale. So anyway, hey, I just want to thank everybody for fighting for $30 tabs with us for the last several years. For me, this has been a 22-year tug of war over this really important issue. It's really a metaphor for how frustrated the voters are when they vote for something, and yet the politicians, the broken system says, well, you were confused. And when I heard Jay Inslee say the voters were confused by this one, that's what really spurred me to get into the race in the first place to run for governor. Because if you have a governor that's that arrogant and that ignorant about how disrespectful he is of the voters, we need to dump Inslee. And so dumpinslee.com is what we're going to be just pounding away on today. Have you guys ever heard that word, dumpinslee.com? What's that word again? Deafening roar. I'm having trouble hearing. dumpinslee.com. No, this is really cool. Go to dumpinslee.com and you're going to be able to absolutely make Jay Inslee choke on thousands of postcards. We have 300,000 email addresses of all these supporters who actually signed our petition and actually voted for $30 tabs. Let's absolutely bury Jay Inslee with this dumpinslee.com effort. We're down here in Olympia in front of the legislative building. We're also right in front of the state Supreme Court. Later today, there's going to be a hearing. And what's really, really neat about this hearing is that the state Supreme Court is taking up $30 tabs after a King County judge upheld it. A King County judge upheld it. A Jay Inslee appointed judge upheld it. This is shocking to people. You would never even read about it in the newspaper. When we actually got the thing upheld, the headlines were confusing. They said, well, the judge, we don't know quite what he did. The judge upheld the initiative. So that means that this is an Eyman initiative that was upheld by the lower court and being taken up by the Supreme Court. All of us, I think, are rightly cynical about our entire broken system that we have. But in this case, we have as left-leaning a judge as you're ever going to find, found that we did it correctly. The voters knew what they were doing. They weren't confused. It's all single subject. It's a really, really great initiative, a great victory. So it's June 30th, very special day as well. My oldest son, Jackson, turns 22 today. Let's hear it for Jackson. Yay! I can't help it. I'm going to show him off. So this is us turning in 500,000 signatures to the Secretary of State's office in that building over there. This is Jackson. He was 6 months old. He's 22 years old now. So he has seen his dad wearing t-shirts for 22 years, which made sense when you're in your 30s. It gets a little creepy when you're in your 50s and you're still wearing t-shirts. But it was really, it shows you the span of $30 tabs. Here we are turning in 500,000 signatures for the first $30 tabs initiative, and this was the campaign sign back then. It said, yes, $6.95, because politicians will never limit taxes. Does that still apply, people? Yeah. Has anything changed in 20 years? No. The only thing that's changed is politicians like Jay Inslee have only gotten more arrogant because he said voters were confused by an initiative about a dollar amount. So it's pretty extraordinary, but that was, again, 20 years ago. Last year, we were out and about really pushing the idea of $30 tabs. And it is the same concept. And the reason we keep coming back again and again is because when the voters vote for something, they deserve it. And we need to respect the will of the people and not say that they're confused just because the voters voted against it doesn't mean the whole establishment should chew it up and spit it out. I think the voters deserve respect. Whether they're voting for a liberal initiative or a conservative initiative, they should be treated the same. But because it's a conservative initiative, it's on hold while it's being adjudicated. Liberal initiatives, they take effect right away. But with conservative ones, they have a different standard. But again, our initiative has been upheld by the lower court. It's now going to go before the Supreme Court later today, and I'm bullish it's going to be upheld. With that, I'll turn it over to Jim Walsh. Jim Walsh is one of my favorite legislators. He did this amazing thing. When he ran, he promised he was going to do a lot of things. And what's weird about Jim is he decides to go ahead and keep doing those things after he won, which is a very, very unusual thing that people aren't used to seeing. He is an activist at heart, but he's a representative that I think people are very proud of and really excited about. And he was really a point person during this legislative session, trying to get them to respect the will of the people and do $30 tabs. But with a governor like Jay Inslee saying they were confused, he wasn't able to get any traction for what he did, so we're battling it out in court. So Jim is just is one of these really principled guys, guy that I really, really like and admire. And as I run for governor, he's kind of my go-to guy when I have questions. So anyway, I'll turn it over to Jim and get his take on today's hearing. So thanks a lot. Big Jim!
Woo!
Jim!
There is no doubt that the main issue I hear about from my constituents in Southwest Washington and from people all over the state is what about the $30 car tax? They don't want to hear about constitutional issues. Even if we talk about the COVID response and other issues in the news, it comes back time and again to one simple question. What happened to my $30 car tax? We voted for this. It passed. It's been upheld by a lower court. What the heck is going on? And the answer to that question is, what's going on is here. The $30 car tabs initiative is being considered by the state Supreme Court in this building behind us, which we call the Temple of Justice. And today they're going to have a hearing which may be controlling over what happens to your $30 car tax. And the message I think we need to deliver to the justices of the state Supreme Court here, and certainly to the governor and my colleagues over there, is that the will of the people must be respected. Our state constitution, at the very beginning, Article 1, Section 1, says all political power is inherent in the people. That's the reason why the initiative process is so important to us here in Washington, is because it is the clearest, cleanest, straightest mechanism for the will of the people to be expressed. And it's been expressed. The people want $30 car tabs. It's a simple thing. It's not confusing. And when people say that the voters are confused and they don't understand what they're voting for, they are creating a constitutional crisis. Our Constitution speaks plainly that the will of the people must be respected. And if this isn't respected by these judges here in this building today, they are adding one more risk. They're adding one more tension to some shenanigans going over in that other building over there that taken together constitute a constitutional crisis. And if the state leaders in that building and in this building don't respect the will of the people of this state, they will lose the faith and the trust of the voters. And we can't have that. People must believe their vote counts. They must believe that the system isn't rigged. that it works as it's supposed to. And the state Supreme Court has the chance today to help people maintain their faith. The state Supreme Court today has the chance to keep the trust of the people. And that's a lesson that I hope that the judges here will show to the governor over there and the state attorney general and the lieutenant governor and all of my colleagues in the legislature that the will of the people must be heard and respected. That's today's message.
So here's one of the petitions for Initiative 976. Made it very clear this is about $30 tabs. People knew what they were doing when 352,000 of them signed these petitions, and they knew what they were doing when they were voting on it. And one of the things that makes us very fortunate when it comes to this particular effort is that the system is set up where once you pass an initiative, don't worry about it. It's going to be defended by your attorney general. And your attorney general, his job it is to make sure they're going to make sure that the will of the people is respected, because he's going to get in there and do a bang-up job defending the initiative that you ended up passing. And what we learned with this particular initiative is that Bob Ferguson is a big supporter of Sound Transit. He is a big supporter of all the opponents of our initiative. The $5 million that was spent opposing our initiative, these are big backers of Bob Ferguson as well. And so, hiss boo, hiss boo. So this whole dumpinslee.com effort, which we encourage everybody to do, dumpinslee.com is a chance for you to absolutely pound this guy with postcards and emails and messages, and it's going to be able to help you be able to make it very clear. We're not happy with Bob Ferguson because he sabotaged this case from the beginning, and fortunately we have Stephen Pidgeon who's going to be representing us in court, and his job is to simply overcome all the Seattle lawyers, all the King County lawyers, all the Garfield County lawyers, all the government lawyers, and on this side you also have the Attorney General's office undermining it on the inside, sabotaging it from within against Steve Pidgeon. And Steve Pidgeon is a real hero of the people. And the thing that we're really lucky about, the reason he was able to take this thing on, is because Clint Didier, this is another absolutely heroic local elected official that did something when he ran for office. He said, I'm going to do these things, I'm going to be a conservative, and when you elect me, I'm going to stay a conservative. And what Clint Didier did was he is the one that tried to get the Franklin County Commissioners to sue to defend the initiative. It's the first effort ever for a local government to actually side with the people as opposed to sue the voters. And what is so neat about Clint Didier, about this effort, is Clint Didier, when his fellow commissioners said, no, we don't want to get in the middle of it, who cares if 73% of my constituents voted for it? I don't want to get in the middle of that. Clint Didier didn't take no for an answer, and he went out and raised money locally and hired Steve Pidgeon to represent us. I haven't got a doubt in my mind that if Clint Didier hadn't done that, we would be stuck with Bob Ferguson defending our initiative, and we would not be here today with a victory in lower court. So it's a great, great thing. Clint Didier, one of my favorite people. I'll be in Tri-Cities on Thursday for a Fire Inslee rally. And at the Fire Inslee rally, I may mention dumpinslee.com because I'm going to say it a lot. Because dumpinslee.com is a way for you to really be able to pound this governor. He said you were confused. He refused to implement the will of the people. And the thing that it makes me kind of excited about memory lane here is, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. 20 years ago, we did an initiative that said $30 tabs, and we're going to require voter approval for every tax and fee increase, whether it's related to cars or not. And that initiative overwhelmingly passed, but the lower court judge struck it down. But that same day, Governor Gary Locke ended up holding a press conference, and he said, regardless of the court's ruling today, $30 license tabs are here to stay. We had a leader. He wasn't of the party that I affiliate with. He was a Democrat, but at least he was a respectful Democrat, a normal Democrat, somebody that I had problems with for 8 years, but once he saw the voters voted for it and he saw the court taking it away, he acted and said voters knew exactly what they were doing. I still remember vividly that, like it was yesterday, in his press conference, he said the voters made clear that they disliked, hated high car tabs. He used the word hated. And he said, regardless of the court's ruling today, $30 tabs are here to stay. When you have a Democrat like that in office, you can feel pretty comfortable that you may disagree with him, but at least he's willing to respect us. Jay Inslee, by contrast, 20 years later, said, I am against this initiative. I encourage everyone to vote no. Voters ignored him, voted for it overwhelmingly, and once he lost, he couldn't just man up and accept the fact that the voters voted a different way. He said, I'm refusing to implement it because my will is more important than the will of the people. And it's those kind of elected officials you cannot allow 4 more years. You just can't do it. If you validate him and the actions he's taken, you're saying you're okay with an elected official, the leader of your state, saying you were confused and your vote didn't count. So it's a very important thing today. State Supreme Court, we are absolutely before these 9 justices. We're all cynical about these justices. I know I'm going to sound like Charlie Brown, charging at the football, and Lucy's going to pull the ball away at the last minute, but I'm actually bullish that these 9 justices are actually going to see this King County judge finding nothing wrong with it, and I think even they would choke on the idea of saying, well, this judge, he made an arbitrary and capricious ruling, and it's just a wacko ruling for him to come up with that. Clearly it was single subject. Clearly the ballot title wasn't confusing, and fortunately we have Steve Pigeon fighting for us in there. I was going to call up Jim one more time and just ask him anything that he forgot to talk about, anything like that, but today's a very good day. 22-year tug of war, the voters keep voting for it. They voted for it 3 times. Lower court judge upholds it. Now it's before the state Supreme Court. Let us have another victory for $30 tabs. But I think that regardless of what the court does, we need to elect somebody in November that's actually going to respect the will of the people. And I say this, and it's very easy for me to say, is that you elect me your governor, you're going to pay $30 for your car tabs and not a frickin' penny more. So anyway.
Woo! Woo! I am hopeful, as Tim just said, that the state Supreme Court justices will find the right and clear and legal conclusion here. There are a couple of the justices who have, by their own words and their own votes, shown they're not reachable with reason and logic in the law. They're partisans, but there's a hopeful thing. There is a group and a majority of those 9 justices who do look at each issue on its own terms and apply the law in a good way. We've seen some hopeful signs in a few recent decisions coming from the Temple of Justice. So I am optimistic that they will conclude rightly and favor of the people's voice for $30 car tabs. But
I mentioned the 5-4 ruling on releasing 11,000
Correct.
criminals. Mention that one because we were here for that.
There was a recent ruling out of the state Supreme Court on this matter of releasing felons from prison, and on a 5-4 vote, but it was the right conclusion.
Exactly. 5-4.
On a 5-4 vote, the justices in this building came to the right conclusion, which was not to release more felons, and that they needed to stay in prison and serve their terms out, regardless of the health issues raised by the COVID outbreak. And that was the right decision that they reached here in this building. It was a close one. It was 5-4, but it was the right decision. There were many would have been affected, including we believe the Green River Killer might have been released. That did not happen because the justices did come to the right conclusion. So I'm hopeful that today they will again. And what I want to say too to everyone is, this is really about more than just car tabs. Mm-hmm. What we have going on right now over in that building, the Capitol building, is a move to increase taxes on Washingtonians across the board. And the $30 car tabs, it's really just one little piece of a larger agenda to raise taxes, to raise fees. And what $30 car tabs gives us is a bright line, is a beachhead, is a firm position to take to say no to this constantly raising taxes. The business and occupation tax, your property taxes. Those property taxes, you're getting those bills in the mail this week and last week. You're seeing right now the effects of constantly raising property taxes in the state. You're seeing it in the talk of creating a capital gains income tax at the state level. We have to say no to the constantly raising taxes that some of my colleagues want to put into effect every session, every day. We have to say no to this. We have to make our government in Washington hold the line and live by a budget as we all do in our homes. And constantly going out to raise more money from the magic ATM is not the way to go. And this is just a small piece of that larger issue. But we need to say no to constantly adding the tax burden on working citizens of this state of Washington. We have enough taxes. We need to hold the line now. So this is a great day for helping hold that one.
Yeah! Woo! DumpInsley.com. DumpInsley.com. What was it again?
DumpInsley.com.
DumpInsley.com. So it is so true. Now you understand why I love Jim Walsh so much. And we live in the state of Washington, and if one man wants to love another man, you can't judge me for that. So I think that no, nobody says this stuff can't be fun. So no, it's a very important thing with $30 tabs. It is a metaphor for all of us when it comes to the government respecting us. There is simply a disrespect that we feel when our government says to us, we know better than you. What got me into politics originally was Ross Perot in 1992, and he had a simple idea, which I really resonated with me, is we are the employers. They're the employees. That whole idea flipped it around in my head because you see too many elected officials acting like they're the employers and that we're their employees, that we're somehow subjects of them.
That we're
Insubordinate! Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Yes, Inslee famously said, I don't want people being insubordinate of their government. And I'm like, how can the employer be insubordinate of the employee? It doesn't make any sense. When does an employee order an employer, you must do certain things? Wear a mask except when you're sleeping. Except when you're sleeping. We used to make fun of the let us fish rallies, talking about how you could be in the middle of a lake holding a fishing pole without the hook in the water and you're safe from COVID. But under Jay Inslee's rule, if you dip the hook in the water, you are now susceptible to COVID. Now we have this insane situation where we could go hunting and fishing alone, yet we're committing a misdemeanor crime unless we're actually wearing a mask when we're alone. We're susceptible to COVID alone, out in the woods, alone, or sitting in a boat in the middle of a lake, holding a fishing pole, now in the water. Now it's okay, except for the fact you wear a mask and you're susceptible to 90 days in jail. The double standard is what drives me crazy, because 90 days in jail for not wearing a mask, but you have 6 blocks in downtown Seattle with blatant lawlessness, and he denies it's even happening in the first place. The laws only apply to the non-essential people. They don't apply to his allies, his donors, his supporters. I did make another observation. Seattle Times did a story showing Jay Inslee's stock portfolio, his own investment portfolio. Coincidentally, all the companies that he personally is invested in are all companies that were declared essential during this various time. Microsoft, Amazon, Starbucks. It just so happened, coincidentally, that everybody he invests in, where he's making money, he ends up saying that they are essential. But if he didn't invest in them, he's treated like us, non-essential. The other thing I want to highlight is that Jay Inslee is not one of these elected officials that just simply quietly accepts the fact that people disagree with them, and that's okay. He instead says we're heartless and we're cruel if we question what he does. That it's somehow a sign of disrespect and almost lack of patriotism if you don't just simply accept what he's requiring of you. And I think that is really, really frustrating for voters to see, that it's heartless and cruel if a non-essential business wants to do the same thing that the 7-Eleven is doing, that Lowe's is doing, Walmart is doing, Costco is doing, and that's looking out for their customers and allowing their employees to be able to earn a living. The fact that Jay Inslee says, you're heartless and cruel, you guys are doing that, but when it comes to his own supporters, his own donors, they're not heartless and cruel for doing it. They're just following what he said. So he's a frustrating guy. We want to dump Inslee. If you want to dump Inslee, you go to dumpinslee.com and help us bury him in postcards at, where is it at?
Dumpinslee.com.
So anyway, I'm so grateful you guys came out. We're going to close it out with Jim one more time because he's so good, and he's one of these guys you don't need a microphone. Just let him go, and I want him to hear you in the legislative building. Let's close it out with Jim. There for Jim.
Woo!
This really is about more than one person. It's about more than one piece of policy. This is about the deep and broad philosophical belief. Should the people's voice be what drives our state's policies? And I believe to my core that it's the people's voice that should lead what we do here at Olympia. Thank you. That should define how we do public policy. That should dictate how high taxes are or how low, and how we spend the money that we raise here at Olympia. If there's any dictator in this state, it's these people. They are the leaders. They are the bosses. They are the ones who say what policy should be. It's not one man hunkered down in a corner office over there. The will of the people is where all political power resides. And what the movement for $30 car tax is about, it's about more than just your license plate and your vehicle. It's about the will of the people being primal and leading how we do politics in this state. All elected officials must respect the will of the people of Washington. And those judges, they are elected officials. They need to respect the voice of the people. I will always be here, Tim, to help defend the voice of the people to lead policy in Washington.
Yeah.
Woo!
Dumpinslee.com. Dumpinslee.com.
Dumpinslee.com.
I love this stuff. So anyway, I'm so grateful for everybody listening in. You can tune in at 1:30 today on tvw.org, and you can actually watch the hearing. They're doing it on Zoom.
It's all the way they're doing it now. They're not opening
I know.
It's still on
It's the
Zoom.
people's building. Our taxpayers are paying for this building, but we're not allowed in. So you can watch it 1:30 today, tvw.org. Technically, you don't have to watch it live. It's going to be on there, and you'll be able to see it anytime. Really, everybody be saying prayers for Steve Pigeon today. Let him be clear. Let him be persuasive. Let him be able to open up the hearts of even justices that are clearly, they voted against our initiative. There's no doubt in anybody's mind. They all voted no on it. But are they willing to respect the will of the people and accept the fact that just because you voted no doesn't mean that you should strike it down. It just means that the majority of voters were on the other side. So respect the will of the people. You are an elected official as well, and there's simply nothing in the Constitution that says it's somehow violative of the Constitution for us to have $30 car tabs. I mean, give me a break. So anyway, love you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out.
Woo! SueInsley.com, TimForgov.com, DumpInsley.com.